Hi folks, I'm going to do a quick screencast showing you how to export product data using Unirgy's uRapidFlow Pro extension for Magento. As you can see in front of me here, I have a spreadsheet with some SKUs and various attributes. The spreadsheet is named as the same as the product attribute set that exists in Magento. So I know I'm going to be exporting fittings, adapter, copper adapters from Magento. So that said, let's dig into Magento, into uRapidFlow Pro. It's under System, RapidFlow, and then it'll pull up your profile manager. In this case, I have 6 different profiles. I've gone over the purposes of these 6 different profiles before. Essentially, I have an import-export pair for each of the data types that uRapidFlow deals with, uRapidFlow Pro rather, that being product data, category data, and fixed row data. So since we are doing a product export, I'm going to go ahead and click Export Product Data. I'm going to quickly run through these. I've done this before in the other videos, screencasts that I've done for this extension. Profile information, this is your basic setup information when you create the profile, the title of it, whether it's enabled. The store view, in my case, it's admin for all of these profiles. They apply globally to every store that exists under the Magento instance. File name, this is going to be the file name that will export when I run this profile. File location, I have that blank because I use the default location that Unirgy has, kicks out exports to, that being var rapidflow, or uRapidFlow rather, and then export in this case. If I were doing an import, it'd be var uRapidFlow import. Profile status, this is going to show you the status of the export in this case. 1,240 rows a second was my last export. That is why I absolutely love this extension. It is my favorite by far of all the Magento extensions that exist. We don't have too many on our store at all, but I've certainly tried out many extensions. This is the best. It is a paid extension. You do pay a lot for it, and it's worth every penny. The big thing about this section, the profile status section, is it allows you to export a report, which is essentially a log file that exists in a spreadsheet where it's marked up. So it'll show you, it'll give you warnings if a SKU doesn't exist, for example, or an attribute value for a strictly typed attribute like a drop down or a multiple select doesn't exist. I more use the report details to troubleshoot imports. In this case, we're doing an export, so I'm not really going to need to look at the report, but nevertheless, on a different video, I'm sure I'll cover imports. File options, I don't need to do anything here. This is for if I'm pulling the, or if I'm shooting the export, in this case, to a remote server, which I'm not. Format options, that can all stay the same. UTF-8, comma delimited. Export options. Auto export image files, I am not going to do that. I have done that in the past. That gets a bit trickier when you're doing data manipulation around image files, so I'll leave that for another day. Nothing else needs to be done here. Export columns, this we are going to do stuff in, so I will leave this for the last bit. Export conditions, we're going to do stuff in here too. This allows me to take a certain slice of data of the products. Rather than exporting all SKUs that exist in my Magento instance, I can say I want to export SKUs from this attribute set or this category, any combination of data. It's great, works very, very well. Profile configuration is JSON. This is really handy if you have multiple Magento instances, say a staging instance, a development instance, and you've created a profile. You don't want to go through in your next instance and create all the different configure options again. So you can just copy and paste this JSON, and when you're creating the profile, you can paste in the JSON, and it works like a charm. So it'll create the profile as it exists with all the options. It's great. All right, export columns. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. I see I have SKU, fitting connection size, fitting connection type. Kick off this. SKU, I'll find that in here. Fitting connection size. I'm going to mention something quick. The way these are organized is by the label that exists in the admin. It's not by the attribute identifier or the key, whatever they call it. So in this case, fitting connection size, we have that labeled as connection size in the admin. So there's fitting connection size. And I've already forgotten the third. Fitting connection type, same thing. I'm going to look for connection type. Material, connection gender. Short description, and name. I'm just adding these by double clicking them. All right. Now, the order that these columns are specified in this screen is going to be the order that they are exported on the spreadsheet. So if you do want to reorder the columns, you can certainly do that, clicking and dragging them up to reorder them as needed. In this case, I've added them in the order that I want them to appear in the spreadsheet. So we are all set. I believe this is all the data that I am looking to reconcile with against this spreadsheet. So next one, options. If I leave, even with all these columns specified, I'm still telling Magento that I want all of the SKUs exported because I have no conditions set. So let's set a condition. In this case, I know that this spreadsheet corresponds with an existing attribute set. So let's find that attribute set and specify that. There it is. Fittings, adapter, copper. Now, attribute set is. This is the correct rule. I could do is not. So that would export all SKUs that are not categorized or attributized in the fittings, adapter, copper attribute set. In this case, this is all I want. And I can leave this any rule at any. I could also do all if I want a stricter rule set. And true. So if any of these conditions are true, the attribute set is fittings, adapter, copper. Perfect. Let's run the export rather. All right, and you can see I have kicked out 55 rows. It just took a second. All right, I've FTP'd up to the server. I have pulled down the exported spreadsheet. Now, one thing I want to mention, I didn't update the file name. I should have, but I didn't. So it exported it as product_manufacturers. That's not exactly how I wanted it to display. I wanted it to be products, fittings, adapter, copper. So being that this is such a fast extension, let's go ahead and do that again. All right. Now, there was no reason to do that other than to highlight the fact that it's important that when you are doing these exports or imports, take note of the file name and make sure it's correct before you run the export or import. And we can throw this away. Let's open this up. All right. We can see the two spreadsheets next to one another. I can see category IDs, which I didn't export mistakenly. SKU, which I can see SKU in column A, fitting connection size, connection type. All my attributes in the exact order that I specified, along with the SKUs and the attribute data.